For our start of our final project, what we want to do is consider if you want to draw a crystal, or the other option is to trace a crystal using the carbon transfer method. So this is a photograph I have on a piece of copy paper. If you want to draw your crystal, you can obviously draw it on your paper. Try to make it nice and large to really fill the paper, or you can do a combination of crystals and gems that together fill the paper in a pleasing arrangement. But if you do want to trace, you're going to find one of these photocopies that you would like to use, and we're going to take it and flip it over onto the back. Then I have a pencil here that's a little bit wider than a regular pencil. This one is the size that's just a bit bigger, which means it's going to be easier for me to shade on the back, which is what I need to do. I need to cover this whole crystal with shading, but not just loose shading like this. I actually want to have it be dark enough so that when I trace it on the front, I'll be able to see it on the back. So I'm going to pause and do that and then unpause. This method of tracing is called carbon transfer because we're using graphite to transfer the image. And it's okay if it's not perfect, but we do want to make sure we have enough that it's going to work. So what I like to do is I like to go in one direction and then rotate my paper and go in the other direction. That does a great job at covering a lot of these white spaces. And I like to go up and down, so two directions as well as both diagonals. So right now I so far have a start, but I'm not done. Then I would also go across and across like this everywhere on the back. If you take your paper and twist it and it looks really shiny and there's no white gaps, it'll probably be okay. For me, honestly, I should probably spend some more time especially filling in larger white gaps. But for the purpose of our demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and start to transfer my image. So I'll take my photo, line it up on top of my artwork, and then a key is to really hold it down so it doesn't slip and slide while you're tracing. You can choose if you want to trace all the way around the outside first or work around the image a little bit at a time. I like to, when I start out tracing, just right away check that I have my graphite dark enough that I can see the lines. In this case, I think I don't. That line is really hard to see. So I'm actually going to spend some more time making this whole area much darker before I try again. For the tracing step, it can also help to have a relatively sharper pencil. Alright, I'm going to test it again. This time I can see my line much more clearly. So I'm going to hold it down and continue tracing. It's okay also if you end up creating something different than the photo, because again, natural crystals have some variation. They are not all exactly the same. Our goal isn't to make something that's perfect. Our goal is to practice art and learn new things and try our best. Art does not have to be perfect to be good. As I'm tracing, I can start to think about these different edges or faces and facets of the crystal and how I'm going to use different colors and shades and hues to show that when I get to that step. So I'm going to continue tracing this. When I'm done, I'll have a crystal cluster. Once you've traced it, you might have something that looks like this. Now is a perfect time to use the image to enhance or change any little parts of this that you want to. If you have little dots where the lines don't connect or you want to straighten them out, using a ruler can also be, or an eraser can be potentially helpful in this process if that's something that you're interested in. Or at this point you have a drawing of a crystal that you have made by yourself. Now, when we're adding color today, we're going to use watercolor pencils. The reason that we're doing that is it gives us option. You can use them just like regular colored pencils, or later on in the project you'll have the opportunity to add water as well. I recommend you stick to one color scheme. For me, I've chosen sort of some aquamarine and blue colors. And then whenever you start to add color, you can think about how you're going to mix and layer colors very carefully. You can also use water since these are watercolor pencils. The key here though is using way less water than you think you need and letting it dry quite a lot. So I've got an area here that I've colored. I would not actually usually use water until the very end of the project. I'll just demonstrate this for you for the purpose of right now. and I'm got a brush with it just a very, 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 very tiny bit of water. I'm even wiping it off so it's not dripping. And then what I could do is I could go in and activate the watercolor to really blend these two pencils and create a nice effect. And I even like that I can still see some of the watercolor strokes. I think that or watercolor pencil lines a little bit as well. I think that makes it look kind of like natural variation that you would see in a crystal. Remember, we would not really use water till the end, but we are going to use watercolor pencils to start to add color. I'm excited to see your progress on your crystals.